I wondered what your favourite, all of you this is, what your favourite moments filming were and what your favourite moments in the actual final film were. Do you want to kick off, Rollo?
My favourite moment, oh crikey, there were so many. It was probably the dancing scene because it was my birthday. I'll go for that. Yeah, I was a bit hungover.
Memories.
My favourite scene was probably the scene that I do with Jacqueline and Jacob on the sofa, because it's Jacqueline's sort of turning point. It's where she could actually be rescued if he'd not go out and see his friend, if he just stayed with her or took him with her. She could have been saved at that point. It's a real pinnacle moment for her. And also I actually got dialogue too. Which is quite nice. Yes, that's my favourite.
Fantastic. How about you, Miriam?
The fancy dress party, because it was so fun, and I think I felt quite empowered being hidden, having my face painted and being in that really cool costume. I really felt like I could be anonymous and just felt more free.
And Bryan?
Yeah, I think I've probably watched the film a few hundred times, so it's, but it's kind of, I just want to say something when Derek's here tonight. He's one of the people who did the score, and there's kind of one bit where Ailidh's chasing Jacqueline, and there's kind of a bit where Rollo's coming up the stairs to go in the flat, and there's a really lovely cello line that Derek plays at that point, and from the first time I heard that, it kind of, you just brought some emotion to me that it's never kind of left me. So I think that's kind of one thing where someone adds something to your film that you never imagined that could happen. So I think.
Tell us a little bit about the production design of the film, because it's fantastic. And I wondered if you could talk, Bryan, a little bit about whereabouts you were filming, particularly the interiors I'm talking about, and how you managed to get the great looks.
So the interiors is actually 3 different flats. So there's kind of the outside one set of flats. Mrs. Nichols' corridor and kitchen was our first set of flats, which we basically lost our location on the first day, and then we had another set of flats up in Hatfield that we went to, which we basically had a single flat and we redressed it 3 times. But the production designer was Sarah Ranieri, who was from Italy, and she came over and it was her first film as well, but I think she just really kind of got an idea of what we wanted straight away and did a great job. I think in terms of the different flats we definitely, for each of the 3 women and the 3 flats, we kind of designed a set of not set rules, but we had like different characters for different colours for each character. So like Ailidh was orange, Jacqueline was blue, and Mrs. Nichols was green. And then we kind of had different kind of camera moves that we would do. So like Jacqueline's was like a static camera position. Ailidh's was kind of like handheld most of the time, and Mrs. Nichols was like a slow and steady. So we were trying to like evoke the characters within the colours and the kind of camera movements and the kind of the set design kind of. So Ailidh's is kind of more cluttered and a bit messy, and Mrs. Nichols is your classic old women's flat.
Has anyone in the audience got a question at this point? Anyone wanted to? Yes, the gentleman in the blue top. Yeah.
It reminded me of growing up in the 90s and being a sort of 90s hipster and trying to hold on to things like, vinyl records and indie comics and stuff. And particularly when you're saying you're a programmer, everything in the film's like really analog. So how much was that sort of incidental, maybe reflecting your own interests, and how much was that like a really conscious decision?
I kind of like my kind of gadgets and all the rest of it, like probably any computer geek type guy does. But when I was writing the script, I actually bought all of the Belle and Sebastian albums on vinyl, and I still have not got a record player, but I just bought them. I don't quite understand why, but I was like the kind of, with the kind of digital thing, you don't have that kind of texture and feel of things, and like I was like a note's the kind of best example, because if you write a note to someone, you choose what kind of paper you're going to write it on, you choose what kind of pen you're going to use, you choose how you're going to give it over to them, you know. And whereas like, if you write an email, it's kind of like, there's, you know, I write an email exact same as everyone else in here does, whereas like that kind of allowed them to show the characters. And I think it also kind of helped to try and show that they kind of, in some ways it's kind of like a comfort blanket for Ailidh in particular, so because she's got all her little things, it's kind of like her way of keeping the world out there. So it's kind of partly I like those kind of things, and partly to kind of help kind of make these characters a little bit more intimate, I think.
Any other questions from our audience tonight?
So if Bryan and Claire went to the same fancy dress party as Figments, what would you go as?
Why are you all looking at me? Yeah, surely something with lots of hair, I think. And, I think Rollo stole mine. Well, not Rollo, but I gave him my costume. We had during the kind of initial stages, we actually ran this fundraising event, which was like a fancy dress party, which we lost money on, so it wasn't the best fundraiser. But basically, I dressed up as a big wawa, and there is some picture somewhere of you will need to blackmail me. So I was original, and Rollo just copied me. He looked about 10 times better than my homemade costume.
My two favourite animals are probably a beluga whale and a donkey, so a belonky. I'll go with that.
That could be quite an interesting costume, couldn't it?
Beluga whale head, I think, and a donkey.
I was going to say you might have problems walking if you did it the way around. Great question, by the way. Any other questions for anyone in the audience tonight?
First of all, fantastic job. I'm amazed how brilliant the film was. Secondly, to Bryan, I guess it was the first time you've done this, and you had a lot of challenges and a lot that you had to deal with limited budget. And knowing everything that you know now, and if you had a sort of unlimited Hollywood budget, would you change anything about the film, or do you think it's part of what made it almost perfect in the way it is because it was a challenge and a fight and you didn't have the budget?
I think the one thing that I'd like to have more time on would be just time on the actual set. So I don't know, we basically had like 1 or 2 takes on most scenes, and I think the thing I didn't realise going into it was that you kind of set up the camera and lights for half an hour, and then you get 4 minutes with the actors to do the scene, and then it's, that's all the time you have, and then you're on to the next one. So I think kind of having a little bit more time would have been useful to kind of have a bit more variations, because when you get in the edit afterwards, you kind of, there's a few times where you're looking for something that you don't have because you've only got limited options. But I think saying all that, the kind of issues that we had with the film, or that I have with the film, I guess, are all things that were there in the original script. And I think the thing I've probably learned most of is kind of what you need to put in a script and what you don't. And I don't think you could really teach someone that until they go through the process of making a film.
Anyone else got any more questions before we kind of round up things this evening? Last chance. Oh yes, there is one gentleman right towards the back.
I was very impressed with the beginning of the film, the introduction. It was wonderfully done and very entertaining, a wonderful cartoonist. And also the messages that were going and the drawings on them, I found it very amusing and very clever. Thank you.
Do you want to say this about maybe where that came from, Bryan? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Basically, there's an artist who did all the artwork called Hyun Beck. She's like a South Korean artist who, I don't know how we found her, but one of the production department went out, and I really liked, I basically given them lots of kind of images of graphic novels I like, and in particular the one the style of it is kind of similar to Iranian artist, graphic novelist called Marjan Satrapi, and basically I sent them out and said go and find someone who can draw in that kind of style, and basically all the artwork in Ailidh's room and all those drawings were done by the same girl, and I think that when you see them being drawn out in hand, that was Mirren. So Mirren basically learned how to. The girl drew them first, and then you learned how to do them, and then we filmed you doing them. So it was Ailidh was doing the drawings, but they kind of came from the artist.
Was that quite challenging to do that drawing, Mirren, or how did you find it?
Well, the graphic novel book was outlined in blue because that's how they do it before they currently.
With the graphic novel, they normally, I don't know if everyone does this, but they kind of get a blue pencil and you draw the image first, then you go over it in ink, and then when you photocopy it, the special blue pencil isn't there on the photocopy.
Well, I'm going to finish off then by asking you guys what you're going to take away from this film, either in something you might have learned that you're going to take into another project in the future, or just a really lovely memory or experience. Who wants to kick off?
I'm not going to let any of the actors talk on the next set, just to keep me entertained, never mind anyone else.
I don't know, I just think it was a great 6 weeks. It was 6 weeks, wasn't it? Right? 3 weeks? 3 weeks? Yeah.
19 days.
Well, you know what? It was a great in 19 days, and I think to work with these guys, you know, even though it's Brian's first film and stuff, you know, he was a real pleasure to work with as a director, and so were these two of these guys. And you know, I'll just take away having fun and hope that people enjoy the film as much as I had making it, basically.
Thanks, Rollo. What about you, Claire?
I think with it being my first feature, it was just a massive learning experience from start to finish. There's so many little bits and bobs that I learned, as well as watching talent like these guys and Sophie Sims and working with Bryan, and so much that I couldn't possibly say. But yeah, everything from this film I'll be taking on to the next projects.
Fantastic. What about you, Mirren?
A couple of things. One, to embrace the madness. Can't fight it, just have to embrace it. And also just how much I have to learn, just have so much to learn, but also that's a good thing because I like learning. So, and I just hope I get the chance to work with another director, cast and crew that put their heart and soul into it and put all their energy into it to making something.
Well, that's a lovely point to finish on. A very positive one too. Thank you, Mirren. I'd like to say thank you for coming this evening. I hope again you enjoyed the film. I've seen some of the things that you said tonight that you really have, which is fantastic. And of course, thanks to these people here on stage, to Rollo Weeks, to Claire Garvey, to Mirren Burke, and to, of course, our writer-director, Bryan O'Neil.